So what we're going to do now is take a look at painting our PopCan. This is kind of the fun part. Now, what we have to do is apply a material to our PopCan. So let's say my PopCan's name is EXO. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to assign a new material. And I'm going to make it a Lambert. And right off the bat, we don't know, right? So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to material attributes again. And come on, attribute editor, pop open. It seems like my version of Maya wants to be a little bit difficult. So let's right click again, go to material attributes to make sure. You see it's called Lambert 2. So it did assign a new Lambert material. And I'm going to double click this and I'm going to name it EXO underscore MTRL for material. The reason is our long-term goal of this is to bring it into the Unity game engine and program it, jumping around and all that cool stuff. And all of the attributes that we assign inside of Maya transfer over. Alright, so we're going to be painting this in Photoshop, so make sure you have one of the newer versions of Photoshop that accepts a 3D model. And we're also going to apply it in here so you can see it. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Export, All. And I'm going to go to Maya Binary here, and I'm going to scroll down all the way until I see OBJ Export. Now, don't freak out if OBJ Export doesn't appear. You have to go to Windows, Settings and Preferences, and go to Plugin Manager. And then I want you to look for, let's maximize that a little bit, objexport.mll, and then make sure that is checked on, and that is checked on as well. All right, and let's go ahead and export this guy. Whoa, looks like we have an error. Alright, so it was pretty good that we had a crash because I want to show you something. I reopened Maya, and what's nice about the new 2018 is it shows you a Maya crash log. So you can see here's the file that it recovered, and then here's my last file before that. So if I click this and I hit continue, you'll notice, let's go to 6. We want to go into our UV editor, and we want to just double check, right? So we're going to go UV editor. It looks like it remembered. Let me turn this guy on so you can see that. Yep, same thing. But if I right click and go to Material Attributes, let's open our attribute editor. Material Attributes here. It didn't remember that Lambert. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And I want you to remember, and this is one of the biggest issues I have when students is they always like, it crashed. I left that in this video because it's going to crash. So you want to save often. So remember, Control S is your favorite. So I'm going to go down to Assign New Material. I'm going to look for that Lambert. And now you'll see it switch to Lambert 2. And I'm going to rename this EXO, again, underscore MTRL. Hit Enter. Now I'm going to hit Control and S to save that. Yep, we want that. File, Export All. Then on my desktop, I'm just going to make a new folder called EXO PopCan. Hit Enter. And for me, I always like to save as a Maya ASCII file because it's more of a universal file. So if you guys are not doing what I like, which is doing Maya 2017 or 2018, whatever we're using in class, save it as an ASCII file because it's more of a universal. So EXO is the way I'm going to name it because that's the name of my character. I'm going to hit Export All. Hit Continue. Now the next thing I'm going to do is File, Export All again. I'm going to go down and I'm going to do an OBJ. And I'm going to do EXO for my OBJ file, and then make sure that I'm in that PopCan folder, hit Export All. Now, inside of Photoshop, I want you to just do File, Open. I'm going to my desktop, and you'll notice there's this OBJ file. I'm going to select that and hit Open. And then all of this is okay. My resolution of 300 is totally cool. I'm going to hit OK. And you'll notice, yes, we want to create a 3D layer, that it brought in, or it's bringing in our PopCan. Now what's really cool about this is if you want to, it's going to give us some nice tutorials. I suggest you guys watch all of that. Let's take a look at navigating around the scene to paint. So down in the corner here, you'll see there's the orbit, the 3D camera. So I'm left clicking the mouse and holding that down, which is pretty freaking awesome. And then there's my pan the camera. And then here's my zoom. Now, some of you might be like, well, you promised us what's it called? It's good. There we go. Dolly the camera. So there's our zoom. you'd be like, well, you promised that we'd be able to paint on that UV whatever. Well, if you look off to the side here, we have 3D, and you'll see there's a Lambert 2SG, and then there's a PQ, right? Well, where's that material, right? So if we go over here to layers, you'll see here's where we actually do our painting on our layer. So we can make a new layer and then collapse that and then just paint on this layer across our surface. I'm going to junk that. Now the way that we can see this, the 3D version of this, so if we go back to 3D and we click on environment, you'll see we get our orbiting dongle back. We actually click this Lambert 2 default texture. Remember we created our Lambert 2? If I double click that, we get our 2D representation. So what the fun part about this is sometimes in 3D it makes it hard to paint. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Let's do our paintbrush here. Zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and just to show you, I'm going to fill my PopCan with sort of an off-gray color. So I'm going to just select that here. And I'm going to hold the Alt key and hit delete. Then I'm going to go back here and you'll notice now my PopCan changed a shade of gray. Alright, so that's a little bit more transparent. Let's say my PopCan is got a light bluish tint. Alt and backspace or Alt and delete on your Mac. You'll see it changed it here. So, but you're like, well, where did my movement? Well, you got to remember, you always go back to 3D, click on environment. You can also click on current view or PopCan or whatever. And you want to go here where you're in your move tool, and then that'll bring all of those options back. Now, you may be like, well, I want to paint on it in 3D mode. Well, okay, so let's go back here. Let's select our brush. And then inside of here, I'm going to maximize my brush size by hitting the brackets. Now, if you don't see this, but you see crosshair, hit the caps lock key. Okay? So, now let's go ahead and just, because we don't want to spend a lot of time on this, let's go ahead and paint a face on our PopCan. So we'll zoom out just a little bit here. Dongle this way. I'm going to paint a cool face on my PopCan. So I'm going with a very cartoony, the white eyes. Let's go ahead and click our right mouse button, or if you're using a pad, and I'm going to bring my hardness all the way up, and I'm just going to paint a couple eyes here, and then let's give them those characteristic black pupils here. Loop, loop. I'm going to make my brush a little bit tiny here. Let's give him a little bit of a shine to his eyes. He's white, like that. And let's give him a smiley face. And we'll give him a little Mickey Mouse tongue. So let's grab our red here. And just kind of a little tongue, a little bit, like that. And I'm going to bring it down a little bit, and I'm just going to highlight it. So, there we go. Let's make him even happier. And just kind of. So he's a perpetually happy PopCan. Alright. Now say you're like, I'm running out of time here. How do I save this? Well, you want to save it as, you can save it as a PSB or PSD. So I'm going to go to Save As. And then in that same PopCan folder, I'll leave it as a PSD and just hit Save. And hit OK. Now, how do I get this texture out and apply it in Maya? Well, you always have to go back to Layers and then double click this here. And you'll see. Come on. Oh, let's go back to this. Here we go. Now double click it. Come on, work for me, buddy. Oh, you know why it's not switching? It's already open over here. So we got to close this out. We're not going to save that. And then let's try that again. Double click it. There we go. Now it opened up. You can see it remembered all of my cool 2D changes. Now let's say actually, we want to make this top part. Sorry, one last change. I'm having too much fun here. Inside of 2D mode, I made a new layer. And what we're going to do is, I just want to paint a little bit of a gray top part. Something like this. And then another gray top part. This is for the base. And then I'm going to paint a little black hole, kind of like just a little sliver there. So let's go back here so you can see that it actually made those changes, right? So maybe that little black sliver is over here. So where the pop comes out. let's see if it transferred over here. It did. So we kind of clean that up a little bit. Kind of center that a little bit better. So that looks over here. It looks terrible, but I'm pretty happy with it. So in this mode is what I want to say. So you want to do File, Save As, and we want to go with a Targa. I'm going to go to my desktop, go into XO PopCan, and I'm going to name this XO _ albedo. You can name it albedo, color, or diffuse. Those are depending on the studio you work at. I'm going to hit save. I know this video is running a little bit longer, but I'm going to jump back into Maya here, and I'm going to hit 6 here. 6 is how you can see texture. Right click again, go to Material Attributes, and under Color here, I'm going to click this little checker box here. Go to File, click this folder, back to Desktop, XO PopCan, XO Albedo, and hit Open, and you'll see there is our textured PopCan. Alright, let's go ahead and hit Control S again. And then in the next video, we're going to take a look at putting some bones in this guy so we can animate him.